what's up? I'm Amin Dhillon, and welcome to my podcast. I'm sitting down with the movers and shakers and the stars to chat about life, love, business, and being a total boss. It's raw, it's candid, it's the stories behind the headlines. This is In Conversation. Rajakumari, thanks so much for being on the podcast.
Sure, thanks for having me.
So what's really great is I actually had a chance to see you at Desi Fest.
Oh, fun.
Was that last summer?
Yeah. 100 years.
Yeah, that was last summer. It seems like such a long time ago. It was what?
I was like, it's 100 years ago since we're in Corona times. So everything is...
Oh, I know. It's such a long time ago. March alone was like 3 years. But that was the first time I got to see you in action. And I actually tried to get an interview with you, but you were leaving right after the show. And I was like, okay, she's forgiven. She's going on a 17-hour flight. So I'm so glad we're able to make this happen now. So before we get into it, quarantine, self-isolation, how are you doing?
I'm thriving in a lot of ways. It's just like, I haven't, like you said, every time I have to do anything, the next day I'm on an international flight or I have to do work and it's amazing. It's been really beautiful, but I haven't had like any time to even digest it or take care of myself all the way. So, I've just been, by myself for the last 3 weeks and just been meditating a lot, getting into yoga, slowing my life down and, just really reflecting on kind of what's going on, like how thankful I am, that I have a safe place to kind of quarantine and, what's going on in the world. And been thinking about that a lot.
Of course. Are you in California?
Yes, I'm in Los Angeles. I made it out like basically the day that they were closing up Europe. I jumped on one of the last flights, like before the deadline, so I left, I arrived in America on the 14th. So I flew out of India because I didn't want to be, away from my family since my entire family's in America. No one is really in India. And there was going to be no incoming flights. So that was a little bit scary. Mm-hmm. So we wanted me to be in the same country as the rest of us, the rest of the family.
Of course. So does that make it hard because you're based in India, right?
Yeah, it definitely makes it hard. I mean, right now it's a really weird feeling. I just bought a car there, I have a house there, I got a dog, it's like I had to make the arrangements within 24 hours and just leave, But I just have faith. I just know that everything, it's eventually this too shall pass. And I know that, before this all happened, what was going on in my career momentum and everything like that, like the people are still here. They still need music. They still need art. So I'm just looking forward to being able to kind of like serve the people again and be like in a space on stage again with a lot of people. But, India is, I always loved being able to just basically go to sleep and wake up in India, That was always an amazing thing to be able to travel between LA and Bombay as much as I did. And I miss it very much, yes. I worry for...
And are you in touch with your friends and family back there?
Yeah, constantly. I'm constantly in touch with the same friends that I was with every day in Bombay. I'm talking to them every day on FaceTime and, we're in house party and we're having fun and we're just trying to keep contact with everyone. But definitely I do have my mind and my heart on India right now. I have a lot of people there that I care about a lot. So
I know from watching the other artists that are on Instagram and they've been sharing updates on their lives, a lot of them have been affected by quarantine self-isolation because they had projects coming out, they had shows coming out, all that's been canceled. So in terms of you and your career, has it really been affected negatively by all of this?
Oh, I mean, I think we all took that hit in March. I mean, I had some of the biggest shows on my calendar, like money-making shows that like for the year that were supposed to happen during that time and a couple of kind of projects and, the world is in a very strange place. But, what I did learn from all of this is don't, spend your money before you make it. So that's a valuable lesson. I'm happy I learned. Whatever, everybody's affected by it. I mean, we're all inside right now. So I don't know if my canceled show is that important, but I finished my album before all this. So I really, I feel like I'm able to take this time just for myself because I already put in a lot of work and completed the third album. So I'm glad I finished it. And now I can kind of reflect and meditate. I feel like the whole world is taking this time to like go inward. And I also would like to do the same.
Of course. And I think for artists like yourself, I know a lot of you are always hustling and never wanting to give up on opportunities, right? Because I know you've mentioned this in interviews before, and I've heard a lot of people say this about you. I know that you really feel blessed to be able to do this for a living. And I know you are always constantly trying to improve yourself and get out there. And I think when you have that mentality, you never want to give up or pass up on a show or an opportunity, right? So you're always on the go. So with this whole self isolation, I think for a lot of artists like you, it's kind of in a way a blessing to have that forced break from everything, right? So you're forced to now just take some time out for yourself with your family and just be able to focus on you for a little bit.
And I never like got to see my family. Like even when I came in America, it'd be like for 6, 7 days, and it's like, and those days would have work involved too. And it's like that's not even enough time, to be with your family. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but I definitely, it is an eerie world to not be taking flights constantly. But it's okay. We're gonna make it. It's okay. Everything comes in seasons, and I just feel like I also feel kind of lucky. I was saying this earlier that we lived during this time to like have this moment for us all to question everything. Like the whole world is like, is this the right way or should there be something different? And that's kind of amazing because we're on the side of potentially, making the world change. It actually could be us that change the world, which is beautiful.
So coming out of this, do you already know some things you'll do differently?
I think it's just like my outlook on consumption has just changed. Like I think I was just everything was fast and everything was just like moving, and I just think my relationship with food has changed. I just like I think now that we're like have to stock up and you don't want to go to the grocery store because you might get sick if you're there. So like not wasting anything, using everything. I mean, I ate a lot in restaurants. I was always traveling. I didn't really, have the time for that. So I think when it comes to my business and my music, I don't know. I was really going in a trajectory that was like larger than life, like with the productions and the stage and everything. I'm not sure. Let's see how we feel on the other side. I feel like I want to get back to the roots of it all now. I'm like, I'm like making my own content. I'm like getting myself dressed. I'm like doing all these things. And like, I had like a huge team that helped me with that before. So I'm wondering, how maybe, how can I be more authentic? How can I, do more things on my own for the fans. Like maybe, how like Beyonce, how she used to blog so much on her computer and we got to like see this inside part of her. And it just kind of makes me feel like responsible that maybe I should be doing more things on my own, just relying on my team.
Do you find that you're getting inspired to write more songs? Because I know you've been songwriting for many years. A lot of your songs are from things that you've gone through or the emotions you're feeling. And so I was actually thinking perhaps you're going to get inspiration for your next album that we're going to hear some reflections of this time while you're at home and in self isolation. Do you feel like you're feeling inspired to write more songs?
Yeah, I think yeah, I think it comes and goes. I think during this, I've been like really, really just patient with myself because I think I've been like in this production phase for like 4 years straight, where it's like every time I touch down in
Mm-hmm.
India, I'm like work, 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 and then I'm like, okay, go to America and show them what I did, and now work, 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 because you only have so much time. Now go back to India and show them what you did in America, and now work, work, work. That's been it. So I'm like, right now, I'm okay with just like receiving energy from the world. Like because I'm just kind of like wondering, you know, I'm just wondering where I'm gonna go with it. I think it's important like to know like a trajectory, like where I'm gonna take the music. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely inspired. I mean, the question was, are you inspired? Yeah, this is horrible. The question was, are you inspired? I am inspired. I'm inspired to set up the studio downstairs. I'm inspired to start working on some things. I'm recording my own vocals, which is so different, than being in a studio with an engineer and producers and, doing it by yourself and not, being in a room with a lot of people. So I'm inspired to teach myself to start again. I really am.
Cool. I'm looking forward to hearing that material. I think it's going to be really interesting to see after all of this dies down to see the material that artists come out with. Because I know when artists are songwriting, when you're in the thick of things, life is good, you're traveling over the world, you've got sold out shows, you're feeling all this love and affection, that gets reflected in your material and in your songwriting. So now, because obviously the world has changed, things are very, very different. People are really having deep reflections about the meaning of life or where the world is. I think it's going to be really interesting to see artists like yourself, what kind of material you come out with that reflect that.
Yeah, I feel like I'm mostly like in more of a chill vibe. I think like before when I would get in the studio, it'd be like this one, like, oh, I got this one day to get in the studio and just kill it. So it'd be like missiles. Everything out of the studio would be like, boom, 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 just missiles. And I feel like now I'm just chilling and I just want to make music that like feels vibey. I mean, like my first album had a lot of vibey records. I don't know if you know my projects that well, but in the Come Up, there was like the song The Come Up, The City, everything had this like slow kind of vibe. And I feel like that hasn't been addressed in a while. So, I mean, quarantine's making me chill, I guess. Quarantine is slowing me down a little bit for the best. I'm going inward.
I was taking a listen to some of your older material, including the new single NRI that's coming out this week. And I wanted to ask you, when you reflect back on all the singles you've had, all the albums, is there still one particular song that means the most to you?
Oh man, there's a few. I think Believe in You is like the most important song that I sing. Believe in You and Mira, they're both very spiritual. And I think like the belief that went into both of those songs, those were both songs that I fought everybody in order to put on the album. I just fought. I had a different team then. It wasn't the team I have now. I just fought everybody. It was like for Believe in You, it was like, oh, why are you singing in Sanskrit in the middle of the song? It doesn't make sense. And I was like, because the world, loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, it needs to be heard by the world, especially now. Imagine, 5 years ago, it's like that's what needed to be heard. So I really put my foot down and was like, this is going on the album. And with Mira, it was like weird. It's like, because I guess for the American side, the people that were involved, they didn't relate to the depth of it maybe on first listen. And so they were looking for something more commercial, and I just knew that the day that I made Mira, I remember listening to it in loop. And I remember like waking up in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. and listening to it and just crying because I was so like overwhelmed emotionally that God had allowed me to make the music that I wanted to make. Like, it was about dance, it was about the universe. And it was just like, I know there's a few songs that give me that vibe, and that was one of them. And so when I perform them live and people are singing it, or I talk to them about manifestation, and I'm standing there and I always say like, I am an example of manifestation. I just feel it. Like, it's just this song that just keeps giving back to me, and it just keeps energizing me, and it just keeps being true. Every time I sing it, it's even more true. Every word out of my mouth becomes more and more true. So I've done a lot of songs, but those are from the beginning. So they're always very important to me.
You speak a lot about manifesting because I've heard you several times on stage in interviews talk about how you always dreamed big. And sometimes you'll be on stage, you'll be performing, and you'll just catch yourself in a moment where you're like, my gosh, I can't believe I dreamt of this and here I am, and it's even better than I could have ever imagined. So, and actually on your Instagram, you recently posted a photo of your vision board, and I was like, I love that. I'm really into vision boards. I think you should always visualize your goals and where you want to go. So tell me about your vision board. What was on it? It was from 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, it's everything. It's everything that I'm doing right now. I remember when I made it, I just kind of had to ask myself, like, what do you want? And I think the act of making the board actually made me define what I wanted. And I think that's the first step to manifestation, is like being clear about your intention. Like, it sets it in motion, So I just remember I made some folders on my computer, and I was like, dream house, places I want to visit, like just bullshit, that I liked, just moments. Like, there's weird stuff. There's like a girl shopping with all these bags because I was like, I want this moment, like just stuff, just like vibe.
Yeah, why not?
There was like a picture of and some stuff I didn't quite know why I was pulling it. I just went with the energy. So like I just printed out everything. I cut it all up and I sat in front of the board and I just kept moving things and putting things that made sense. Some stuff I took back off, and I just kind of made this vision. And it has like a family life that I want, like places I want to visit. And then there's a picture actually of Times Square, and there's a billboard, and it used to be a billboard of Diddy, and I photoshopped myself over Diddy's billboard and put that picture of Times Square with my billboard. And then when I was doing MTV Hustle, and I had the biggest billboards I've ever seen in my life, like they were like 3 stories tall, like you could see me from across the city. It was insane. I just was thinking about, when I made that, how funny it was, and how the audacity to Photoshop yourself on a billboard in Times Square. But this was a huge billboard on Bandar Reclamation. 50, like millions of people drive on that daily, every day. Like during the time it was up, millions of people saw it. So for me, that's what it was, and it's like, I don't think you get exactly everything to the T that you ask for, but there's subtle things in what you're asking for you don't even know, like there was weird stuff, like there's a picture of L.A. Reid and Rihanna holding a plaque, And I didn't put it there because I was like, oh, I want LA Reid to sign me and I want Rihanna. No, I just thought, oh, I like this moment. I would love this moment, like someone giving me this 6 times platinum plaque. And she was smiling. The craziest thing is LA Reid himself signed me to Epic. So he actually gave me my record deal, the man on the board. So I didn't put it there because I said I want him to give me a record deal, but God was still using him. It was still part of the manifestation that me and God, created together in this moment. So there's a lot of crazy stuff. A.R. Rahman's on there. I mean, it's insane how many of things. I want to say like 78% have come true.
Wow.
So far. There's a few more things.
That's really good.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't flown in a private jet and I haven't got married. So like we're still got a couple more things to do.
Ooh, do we have on your vision board your dream man?
He's not like an actual person. It's just like a vibe. Like it's like there's one picture. It's actually pictures of Abhishek and Aishwarya, but it's not like I want Abhishek I'm not like a man stealer. I'm saying like I just liked the vibe that they had, like whatever those pictures represent. I don't even know their relationship, nor am I, I'm not, it's not that. It's like what that symbolized for me. And there's a picture of them on the red carpet and she was like, and he was like, so they're so cute. And then there was a picture of them at the temple. And there was like a picture of their wedding. And I just liked it because I was like, he understands the limelight, but also the traditional side. So that's something I wanted. So, we're still looking for that. But everything else has come. So I have faith.
Did you have on their 3 albums?
I have many albums. I put Elvis.
How many albums did you put on there?
What? I didn't even think about that. I put Elvis Presley's platinum wall, like his wall. Like I have like my platinum plaques here in my house. I'm looking at 2 right now, right? So I put a picture of Elvis Presley's wall is huge. It's just like millions of platinum plaques. But if I am a prolific songwriter, I could do it. I could get a lot of platinum plaques. So I definitely never even made any kind of limit. 3 would definitely not be the goal. It'd be like 30. I don't know. I'm never going to stop making music.
Oh, I know. And actually, getting back to Desi Fest, that was the first time I got to see you live on stage. And it really made me respect you as an artist because when you're performing, you brought it. Everybody was just enjoying it so much. But what I also noticed and what I loved about it was a very mixed crowd there. It's at Young and Dante Square, which is like Canada's Times Square. And so you get a really mixture of people that come in there. Some are Indians, some are non-Indians. And so what I really loved about your performance was even if there were people that were non-South Asians that clearly didn't understand the language or the culture, they were still grooving to your music. And I was like, that is a fantastic thing to do as an artist, to be able to bring both worlds together. Because I know for you, you're always kind of juggling being between East and West, right? So you've made your performance in such a way that it doesn't matter where a person is from, if they're Indian or not, they can still enjoy your music. They can still feel powerful and strong. And so I really liked that you were connecting 2 worlds together.
Yeah. I mean, the new album actually is called The Bridge. So I believe my bridge to connect the East and West. But I think in a lot of ways, like when I do shows like that, where it's a very mixed crowd and, they don't necessarily know me, they may not know who Mira is. I mean, I've hoped to make an album that is universal, but the other thing is I want to be an ambassador of like Indian culture. So like that's the best time for them to hear about some Indian culture. So now if I have a bunch of Canadian people that are not exposed to what I'm talking about, then I can just plant a seed, an idea that just makes them become interested and makes them, you don't even know where that will take them. So I always take that opportunity, to be like an ambassador.
You are. And I like that because not only were you performing, and you know how there's some artists that will just do one song after another and another, you actually took the time to share stories in between your sets. And I really felt like people got to know you. So even if they had just stumbled upon you, maybe they'd never heard of you before or your music, they felt like they were not only getting exposed to your music, but getting to know you as an artist. And one of the stories you actually shared on stage was that fact that you had, I think, wrote into Desi Fest like years ago. I don't know if you did it once or a couple of times, and you're sharing that experience. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this girl had been messaging the Desi Fest organizers to perform on stage and they weren't giving her that platform. And then finally you had your big chance to be on stage. I'm like, you're amazing. Like this just shows to any artist that sometimes, you won't get that yes. Sometimes you won't get people that really understand why you would be a great addition to the lineup. But you know what? Your time will come. Like your moment will come.
Yeah, so I wrote them once in 2016 2015, when I released my first mixtape. And I just sent them the mixtape and I just said, hey, I would love to perform at Desi Fest. This is my new music. They never even responded to me. And then exactly 3 years
I
later,
couldn't believe that. I
and
know.
exactly 3 years later, I was their headliner. So that was like really, that was fun. That was interesting. And we have it. We have the message. It's
Hmm.
so funny because it's like my message, and then the next post is me posting the headlining flyer, which is like so funny if you look at the Instagram, convo.
And I really like that when artists like yourself share those kind of stories because I know from going to these events, there's so many up and coming singers out there, aspiring artists, and that it's hard to get your big break right. And, a lot of the times they're messaging, they're emailing, they're knocking on doors, and they're getting a no, sometimes no response, like you're mentioning. And it can be very difficult because all you're trying to do is get someone to notice you, to see your talent, to give you a chance to expose yourself, either at an early slot or just to be somehow part of that festival. It can be a huge major break for any up and coming artist. So when you're getting the rejection, when you're hearing no response, it can be really tough, I think, for an artist to feel that momentum of keep hustling, keep pushing forward, right? Because rejection is hard. And when you have an artist like yourself that's established, that's one of the headliners, that's sharing these stories that are very similar to say, hey, I too was in your shoes and not getting any callbacks, or maybe I was getting no's. It's nice for other upcoming artists to hear that, to know, you know what, it's all part of the game. You just got to keep hustling. You just got to keep pushing forward. And one day you too could be on the stage like Rajakumari.
Dude, I would make my own. Oh my God, the packets I made, I was like printing out like these like full page stickers, like in color print, sticking them to like envelopes and putting like these like cards that I printed with my pictures and like copies of whatever articles. My God, I used to get turned down everywhere. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
did get a lot of like good opportunities. Like I would win a competition if I entered it, but I didn't get like a lot of like support in the beginning at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I love to share those stories because everybody is gonna get their chance. Like I try to tell people that I'm like, if you really believe it, if you believe it, that means that vision was given to you by God. So right there, that means it's gonna happen if you apply yourself towards your duty, your goal, your dharma, right? If you actually think of it that way, then it will happen. If this is your duty, if God has called you, then it is your duty. You will do it if you put yourself towards it. So it's just like every single person that wants to really do this for the right reasons, and it's coming from their spirit, not from their ego. That's the truth. Then the doors will all open. You just have to be persistent. It could take forever, but it just needs that one thing. That's it. I
Mm-hmm.
don't even know what my one thing was. I think it's just been I mean, I can't even separate the journey. Like every single step mattered. Every single
Mm-hmm.
step.
Was there ever a moment for you where you ever wanting to give up? Or maybe even just a moment where you just had so much self doubt that you weren't sure if you could continue pursuing music?
It was like 4 different times I wanted to quit music, and my parents brought me back
Mm-hmm.
into it. Because I was like, dealing with people that were robbing me or giving me bad deals. And, in the beginning when I was doing songwriting, or, losing percentages on songs, or like people having weird like insecurities and like wanting to hold me back until they got certain, like all kinds of stuff I used to go through. And I remember just telling my parents, like, I don't know if this is worth it,
Mm-hmm.
like, because I wanted to make music like Mira. And I wasn't doing that. When I was making songwriting, I'm writing pop songs like bubblegum and bullshit. And I just like kept being like going back to listen to the music I made before I ever started songwriting, which was like Ganges Flow and like stuff that I was talking about, the Gunga. So I would always like get to these moments, and then my mom would just, I it's so crazy because they are so supportive, but like if you ask them, they'll say they don't want me to do music. Like they would want me to do something else.
Mm-hmm.
But my parents definitely brought me back, and I'd get signs. I would just read the signs, and there's definitely times you want to quit. Not since my albums
Mm-hmm.
have come out. I've definitely been very depressed for my own emotional things, or gone through struggles, or changed labels, and fought against the world, or went through whatever I went through financially, emotionally, everything like that happened. But since I released my own music, I just that's the greatest joy for me. Like I'm not, because when I was doing songwriting, it was fun, but it was surrogacy. I just kept making babies and giving them to others. And then it was like society kept telling me that their voices were more, valued than mine, even though I was writing it. And I'm like, I don't understand why an Indian woman can't speak for herself. I just don't understand. I just, so, that fueled me, I guess, to push.
Yeah. So I just want to backtrack a little bit in case some of the listeners and viewers aren't familiar with your story. So for years, you started off in the business writing songs and doing background vocals for other artists, like huge artists like Gwen Stefani. And there came a moment where you took a look and you saw these artists winning awards, performing the songs that you had written or were you a part of. And you were like, if these songs are good enough for those artists, why am I not good enough to perform these songs or to make these songs my own? So I think that's really interesting because other people may have looked at you and thought, okay, here is a brown girl from California, no musical connections, who has now gotten this amazing chance to be in the room with some of the biggest songwriters, with some of the biggest artists, and you are with them working on these albums, being part of these big moments, being part of songs that have gone down in history. That should be good enough. But for you, you actually took that chance and you thought, you know what, I think there's more out there for me and I'm going to take that risk. I'm going to take that chance and try to make it out fully on my own.
It's not even about me. You know what it is? I'm like so like, even my friends that are from India, they're like, I don't know if I know anyone that loves India as much as you. Like, I have some intense past life connection to the actual soil, the way I feel when I'm there. It's like when people try to tell me no, it's like I literally, like when I say stuff like I'm the queen of Hindustan, it's because that's how my heart feels. Like, I feel for India. I feel for that. And the idea that somebody would, in this world, tell me that we are not of value. Like, you don't even have a zero without us, bro. You don't even know. You think you invented yoga? Oh my God, you like a chicken tikka masala and a samosa? That's so cute. Now you're going to listen to an Indian person talk, okay? You don't get to just take a bindi. You don't get to just wear my sari for Halloween and call yourself Jasmine and think you're from Agrabah or whatever the hell is boiled down in the diaspora. I just got angry. I just felt that it was unfair.
So actually, this is a nice segue to your new single, NRI, because this is exactly what you sing about, being caught in two worlds. Because you talk about how when you're in India, they're saying you're not Indian enough because you weren't born there. But then when you're in America, they're saying you're too Indian. You're not American. So you find yourself caught in two worlds and you don't understand what you're supposed to do or how you're supposed to fit in.
You know, the reason I made this song is because I know a lot of people feel the same way. Because a lot of I was really debating, like, oh, do I want to make a song like this and like be a crybaby about this thing that like I obviously talk about a lot in my music, but I think it needed to be said because even this part of our experience needs to be heard. Like I thought about like, oh, is it matter? Like even during Corona, right? Like I'm like, oh, this song's releasing, so I'm like, does it matter that I'm talking about being American and Indian at the same time? But I'm like, yeah, it matters because this is the time we need to break through all this bullshit, like all this thing of us not being one. So everybody that wants to make someone feel like they are not of needs to check themselves. Like everyone needs to check themselves. And it's just like a song that came out of frustration, with just dealing with this idea. And that, was born out of my relationships with, the American label situations and, like what you were saying earlier about the pressures of Western, Western pressures versus what's happening in Eastern and what my parents and how old I am and how they think I should be married. And, all this shit is going on. And at the end of the day, it's like, if you want to have all these opinions, then get up and do more than I'm doing. That's like how I felt about that song, I guess.
So was this a song that you've been working on for a long time or did something happen recently that inspired you to write it?
Something happened. I mean, I had an experience online, a trolling experience. One of my friends, Babu the painter, she did the artwork for the project. They were just like dragging her, and I felt like people were just being really unfair, and they were dragging me into it too. And it just inspired me. I never get to comment back in the comments, so this was my reply. Everyone's always like, how do you deal with the haters? I'm like, I put them on mute or do stuff. And it was like, well, this time I'm not on mute. I'm full volume. And this is like, just take it. Because I hear everything. So I don't like to focus on negativity. And that's why I was like, I don't know if we should put this out right now. But I just feel like there are people that relate to this. And I think just the idea of the diasporic experience even being heard is being seen. Because I mean, I grew up in America and I never thought there'd be some song about sorry that my sorry ain't Indian enough and America don't love me because I'm Indian as fuck. Like, I did not know that lyric would exist. And if I had heard that when I was 16 years old, then I would have been amped. I would have been charged up. So I just decided that it's the time to put it out.
Let me ask you, do you feel like the attitude towards brown artists, particularly in America, has it shifted to be more positive?
It's open. They're aware, but you have to pay attention. They're still only letting one through. They're not like letting us flood through yet. And I think that that flood is only going to happen when we as a culture are together and we push like our artists. Like, you know how Hassan is on? We all need to support the shit out of Hassan. That's it. Like Mindy's doing something, we need to support the shit out of Mindy. If Aziz does something, we need to be there. If Riz is releasing an album, we need to be there. We need to be on top of it and pushing our people that are giving quality so that we can join the international market. We can't do this thing where we don't support each other, because now it's like it's that time. We're gonna get a chance. And if we break through with more films, with musicians, if American musician, you know, goes mainstream, you know, if an Indian musician goes mainstream America and has Hindi stuff on the radio, what that will do is open the door for everybody. You know, Ricky Martin came through, and then look at everything that came behind him. Look at it. Like it's a whole world. Bad Bunny, you know, J Lo. We're talking about like, you know, Becky G. Like,
Just look at the Super Bowl. You had two Latino artists just killing it. And I was looking at that thinking, why can't we have two Indian artists doing the same thing?
you know, I totally had that moment when I was watching that, and I had that dream for us. And I really do. I know that Spanish influence is obviously a lot heavier in the U.S., but we're everywhere. There's a billion of us. We're like literally everywhere, and it just really takes us, one, having enough care to put into the craft. Like just don't like just lean on like the way people stereotype us and they just sample us. Like don't just sample our own culture. Dig in there. Be an artist that doesn't matter where you're from, but you just rep who we are. You know, that's important. Like if you're from America, you're from India, but if you're talking that real shit, then it's gonna break for all of us, you know? Like I feel that way. I think when you get through, you have to leave the door open behind you.
Of course.
You have to leave it open. You have to. I think like MIA, like my music is not like, you know, some people used to compare me a lot to her in the beginning because that was the only person of reference that they had. But you have to understand how lucky I am that they even had a form of reference. You know, she was in full uncharted territory. She was like, hi, let me educate you. I'm Sri Lankan. By the way, this is a whole new country you never even thought of. You know, like at least that happened. You know, she was on, and you know, she was at the Super Bowl, flipped off the camera. You know, like she was at the Grammys, fully pregnant with the OGs of hip hop. Like she did something so incredible. That's why we pushed her and support her. And so she left that door open, you know, for people like me to come through. And there's so much talent, man. When I was on MTV Hustle, the kind of talent that I was seeing and just the way people are DMing me, you know, videos and stuff, I'm committed to us kind of taking this wave all the way through. Because I think there's an industry for all of us on the other side of it, you know? And I also feel like 12-year-old Indian girls growing up and being proud of her Indianness, like wearing her bindi to school, not on Halloween or some like dress up day. You know, I see that life. I see that for us. And it just requires us all being together.
It does. And I really feel like it's already such a great time right now for brown girls because I remember growing up and I listened to hip hop, I listened to pop. I was born and raised in Canada. So growing up, I never saw anyone that remotely looked like me, especially in entertainment. And so that's why I'm so excited for this new generation of young girls that are growing up. They're seeing so many of these strong, powerful, just kick ass brown women just killing it in different fields, from politics to music to acting to producing. And I'm like, that is so exciting to me that this next generation of young girls are going to grow up and see so much representation. They're going to see so many women that look like them, and they're going to hopefully feel like there's nothing that they can't do, that whatever their goal and dream is, that they can do it. There's no need to feel like because there's no other brown girls doing it that they can't do it.
Exactly. Like 100%. That's exactly what it is. I have to see something like that. I didn't see anyone. I don't know. I just had some like intense drive, I guess, to make it happen. I think out of that like negative space, like out of that loss, out of that not having that, I just felt like that was such a, you know what it was? In India, there were so many powerful women that I would look to, you know, like I'm dancing, so I'm Devi. Now I'm Saraswati, now I'm Draupadi, now I'm this queen. And it's like all this regal royalty. It was like, you know, you have to look up to them. And then on the American side, we didn't have anybody. And so I just like, no, I want to be a superhero, because I knew that side of me, because I knew about the Indian side because of my dance. So you couldn't break me, like when it came as far down as if it came and you wanted to assimilate, cut the culture so you can be like everyone else. I just couldn't at the end, because my superheroes were not Superman and Batman. They were, Arjuna, and like they were Hanuman. Like those are my superheroes. So because of that love, it's like it would not allow me to give it up. And I was like, I need to become that. So maybe everyone didn't get that classical dance training and that weird obsession with, ancient things to make them do that. But at least I did. So I can I've seen so many little girls. Yesterday I posted a little girl in India. She's on quarantine, and her mom posted a picture, and she said she's on her Rajakumari flex, and she had all her jewelry on, and she was just sitting in her like sweats in her. She had to be like 8 years old. And I just like, that's amazing. She just pulled.
That's gotta mean so much.
She pulled out her Indian jewelry. She didn't pull out Cuban link, She pulled out her jhumkas. I feel like that means I did my job,
Yeah, be proud of your culture, be proud of your background. That's why I give kudos to artists like you, because when I was growing up, and I think you and I probably grew up the same way, we really didn't have brown artists. We didn't have no one really talked about brown people or about the culture on mainstream radio, TV. And so I feel like when we would go, let's say, to school and bring Indian food, like kids would be like, what is that? Like, why does it smell weird? When you'd want to dress up in your clothing, kids didn't understand what a bindi was or why you're wearing a sari or a Punjabi suit. And so now, because of artists like you that are educating just by either celebrating their culture or by talking about it, I feel like there's been a shift where there's more education that people are, especially in America, understanding what Diwali is, what Vaisakhi is, when you wear a sari, what a bindi means. And so I think it's nice that people feel that they don't have to hide their culture or who they really are, that they can put it out there, they can showcase it and feel accepted for it, and feel like people that aren't from their community are embracing it and are, let's say, excited to learn what it means.
Yeah, there's definitely more of an acceptance, and people are, but it's just the beginning. And I think we can't also I think we can do the easy thing and just let people know about the easy stuff that's on the surface. But I think it's also our job as people come more into the culture that we show them everything. And don't let them just see, I get really upset when people only see poverty in India. It bothers me a lot. I think it bothers me a lot. I'm like, if you watch the whole movie of Slumdog Millionaire, which is like most of Americans' introduction to India, if you pay attention to it, the only person that's generous in the whole movie is the white guy, and he gives him $100. Mm-hmm. It's like, what? The generosity that I've experienced in my community is next level. I'm not saying that they meant to do that, but I'm just saying that that's how people perceive India. So it's just that's why when I moved there, 3 years ago, a lot of people wouldn't just pick up and leave Los Angeles right after they signed a major label record deal. But I went to India once, with my music, and what was happening there was just so amazing. And everyone was so welcoming. And just that idea that when I walk in a room, I'm not the only Indian person there, or I'm not some, everybody in the room understands why I have marigolds, or no one's asking me about the dot on my head, so.
When you think of traditional Indian music, you think classical, you think of Bollywood music, because those two genres do very well in India. So when you moved to India, did you feel like people were accepting when they listened to your style of music?
India, no. India was just like, what the hell's going on? And they're just like, what is this? And I was like, it's here. Take it in. I think one thing I'm really proud of actually is going to India and making music in the English language is very difficult to break in India. Most of those shows are Hindi. Everything is Hindi, Punjabi. So I'm probably one of the first artists that kind of was able to kind of break and do all of the festival circuit as an English artist. Yeah. So they didn't really, India was just more excited that I was there. And they're just like, what do you want? Do it. We like it. Whatever you want. And I'm like, yes, I like this. America is much more of a struggle. It was much more of a struggle with the level of Indianness and controlling it and alienating the American community by celebrating my Indian heritage, which is such a strange concept because there's so many different communities that are maybe more mainstream in America that are able to celebrate themselves. And I guess because they don't know enough about us, It was very weird. It's very weird to sit in a room and have people like this is funny. I had a song and it was like blow up a check. I'm gonna blow up a check, like spend a fucking check. And I had to sit in a room and watch 5 different people discuss if it was wrong for me to say blow up because I'm brown, blow up a check because I'm like because a terrorist or something. I was sitting there quietly and I was watching, and then I let them talk for a while, and I just said, I just want you guys to know that for the last 10 minutes, I've been sitting in a room watching all of you discuss what's appropriate for an Indian woman to say when, hello, an Indian woman is sitting here and I'm telling you it's appropriate for me to say this. Like, I couldn't believe scenarios like that were happening on the regular. And it was like me having to like bite my lip. I mean, people definitely, I have definitely had champions in the building and they believed in me, but you're working with a situation where it's like, if you look at the top artists and you look at like the girls, the females, it's like, you don't have to go very far to realize none of them are wearing pants, like they're not wearing pants. Even my little cute best friend, Megan Trainor, who I love, I've known since she was 17, even she doesn't wear pants anymore. Even she's out there in them little Beyonce like undies. Yeah, no, I love it, but I'm just saying that's not me. So it was hard for me to function in that circuit because it's America and sex sells.
Was there ever a time where somebody came to you and said, hey, if you wear this or if you change your lyrics to this, that your career would just totally go to the next level?
Oh, I have taken down the largest of people that like they like thought they like, oh, we got this song for you. This is gonna be the biggest hit. And I'm like, I'm not gonna sing that because I'm Rajakumari and this is the first Indian woman that's gonna get a chance on a major label like this. And there's no fucking way I'm gonna say these words. Like, not when everybody's looking at me. We're not doing this today. I mean, that's probably why it took longer because I wouldn't go along with a lot of things. I have made deals where it's like, I remember there was a deal made that if I did not wear the bindi, I could have more budget. I'm saying when you look at me that one, I'm seeing with my spiritual third eye. Two, I'm rooted to my culture. You cannot buy me. You cannot convince me of your superiority. There's a lot of things that it plays with, and like, I'm not naked in my videos. I'm not doing what people like. I have fun. Like, I'm bindis and bangles. I like to be sexy. Like, I'm living my life, but there's another level of what is required from you in the American industry, right? So I made the deal. And then when the video was being shot, I wore the bindi and I said, if you want it off, then take it off my face yourself. And no one would dare. And I shot the video, but I still got the money. So the rest of it's history.
All right, girl, I want to quickly move over to your music because I'm running out of time with you. I know you're busy doing a lot of interviews to promote your new single, NRI. So this is like, I think, the perfect time to release new music. Everyone needs it. They're in quarantine, they're self-isolation. So what a way to lift their spirits by having some new music from their favorite artists come out. So NRI is coming out this week. So we're really excited about that. And then I hear you've got the new album all completed and it's coming out this summer, right?
I'm trying to move it up. It's done, so I'm trying to move it up as soon as possible because everybody's at home. So that's my little hope. But the single's coming, and we shot a video for it in the most ridiculous way ever. I shot half of it in Los Angeles the week of Grammy week because I was in town for 6 days. One of those 6 days, I just quickly shot something with my friend Sean, who shot all my original videos, like Mute and everything, City Slums and everything. And then I shot the second half in Bombay the morning I left India, escaping the corona craziness. Like, I shot it in the morning, 6 a.m., and I was on a flight that same day. I shot it in Bandra, which is actually where I live in Bombay. So it's like, it's very real. It's very real about who I am. It's not like flexing. There's not something that is not what it is, And it was a really interesting feeling to film that day because it hadn't begun. Like, the masks had not begun, the fear had not begun. I mean, it had begun in the US and the UK, but India hadn't caught any of it yet. I was the only one walking around with the mask. And on those days, I was still wearing the mask. I'm American doomsday prepper. I had the mask 3 weeks before.
Isn't it crazy that you filmed your music video the day of your flight, and then once you landed, life was different everywhere? The world had changed.
It's crazy because it's like I couldn't have shot the LA side ever because when I landed, it already had changed. So I couldn't have shot that if I didn't shoot it on Grammy. And India's completely empty right now. Like, it just wouldn't have happened. It's crazy. And it's, the last pre-corona video, but we're working on new visuals. I'm going to figure out how to make more visuals from this side of the world, but we're going to be fine. We're all going to come back. I'm really glad I made bindis and bangles when I did, because that was over 100 people on that set, and it's going to take a minute till you big set like that again.
And the new album, what can we expect from the other songs that you're going to be releasing on it?
I think the albums always have themes. Like, the Come Up was about manifestation and, setting your intention. Bloodline was really about protecting what is yours and fighting for, what you deserve and the battles we all have to fight. And I think the bridge is a lot of healing for me. And it's about being the bridge between the East and the West, the bridge between the ancient and the modern, the bridge from the old era to the new. I mean, it means so many things, but this one is a little bit more about healing, but it's also just like a little bit more personal. There's a lot more personal lyrics about my life and, just different types of records, but I'm excited to share it with everyone. And I made that album in Bombay, which never had happened originally. I always record everything in America and then, bring it there. But that album was recorded in Bombay. I brought my friend Elvis Brown, who collaborated with me on Mute, and him and I made the whole project in Bandra. We just made it.
All right. Looking forward to seeing that new music video. And of course, I'm excited for all your friends to hear the new single NRI and to hear the new album that's going to be hopefully released really, really soon. So I know with each of these podcasts, a lot of people tune in that are looking up to people like you, that are established, that are doing things that they want to do. So I like to leave each episode with a little bit of advice and inspiration. Is there something in particular that if you could go back and change that you would do, that you would like to pass on to the next generation of artists?
I think I wouldn't have changed anything, because I think everything led me to being the artist I am today, and that's an artist with foundation. So I think my only advice to young artists that are just starting out, that are looking at the mountain ahead of them and they don't know how to begin, but they know they belong on the peak, that I can understand. I would say work on your craft, work on your talent, spend time. It takes 10,000 hours to be a master at something. Take that seriously. Spend time on studying other musicians you like. And I think also spend time on yourself, because an artist that knows themselves, that is authentic, those are the artists that are going to cut through. If you are making music just like your favorite artist, then you won't ever be doing justice to yourself as an artist. So I think my best advice would be to practice as much as you can. Learn to record yourself, because recording art is a different thing than like singing live. It's about manipulating the tones of your voice, how you shape your face, different things really change it. So I think trying to learn that, be around a lot of musicians and producers, collaborate as much as you can. Collaboration is it's the best tool in anything, in this career, because the collaborations will lead you down the right road, and they'll also teach you something. I learned something from every person I've ever worked with. And I would say just have that unbending hope. That's it.
That's good advice. Thank you so much.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed my interview. If you want to see more interviews like this, please subscribe to the channel below. See you later.